An entire community in mourning tonight. A student opens fire in the halls of Freeman High School in South Spokane County, taking the life of one student and wounding 3 others, turning an ordinary Wednesday into a tragedy we won't soon forget. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Nadine Woodward. First off, we want to let you know that any threat to the community is over. That teenage gunman is in juvenile detention tonight. A student who left for school this morning did not return to his family, and those who did come home will struggle to cope with the situation for weeks and years to come. Just after 10 o'clock this morning in the small town of Rockford, about 20 miles south of Spokane, a student opened fire, killing a classmate and wounding 3 others. This is what else we know. That student suspect, taken down by a staff member, is in custody tonight. We are following this tragic developing story from all angles. KXLY4's Aaron Luna anchoring our field coverage tonight. He's live outside Freeman High School. Aaron?
Nadine, when you talk about tragedy, you just have to look behind me and see that there's red crime tape around a school. That's something you never want to see. It's a quiet situation now. First responders slowly start making their way out of the school about a couple hours earlier. We still have sheriff's deputies on scene making sure that no one kind of wanders into the scene, and they're going to be here throughout this evening. I want to bring in KXLY4's Caroline Rourke right now. Even though it's quiet here, it was just a crazy scene earlier today, and you were there as parents tried to pick up their children and as those students were still exiting the school. Tell us a little bit about what you saw and the feeling out there.
It like you said, Aaron, I mean, seeing crime tape around a school is nothing you ever want to see, and seeing the faces of these parents with this distraught relief that you never want to have to see on any parent or child's face for that matter. Just unbelievable sights here, first responders everywhere, all of this stuff going on this morning, developing as minute by minute passed. We do want to give you a little bit of information that we know so far, confirmed from law enforcement officials and medical officials about what happened here today. There's not a lot of really solid information confirmed because we are still waiting for law enforcement to really process what's happening here. There's about 300 or more kids at this high school, and they have to interview most, if not all of them, to try and figure out exactly what happened here. But here is what we have confirmed so far. 10 o'clock this morning, some Freeman High School students had barely arrived on campus when it happened.
Pulling in the parking lot, everyone's running out. Officer Nye's telling us to go down to elementary, and so we just booked it. We had no clue.
I dropped my daughter off at school, and she sent me a text and said there was a lockdown and that they told her to run. She told me that you can't come up here because, of course, because there's so much going on. Out of the confusion and the chaos, the truth became clear. One of their classmates was dead, and several others have been shot. We're so sad that this happened, and of course I was frightened beyond belief. First responders raced to the scene as law enforcement officials, but also as parents. Some of them have children at the high school.
These are senseless and tragic events that really don't need to happen, and I don't understand them. I don't think anybody can make any sense out of this.
As of now, we know a student brought multiple weapons into the school. When he tried to fire his first weapon, it jammed.
He went to his next weapon. A student walked up to him, engaged him, and that student was shot. That student did not survive.
The gunman continued to fire his weapon. He shot 3 other students. That's when a staff member reportedly intervened.
This is another example of somebody that had a lot of courage, stepped up and stopped this before it got worse.
Why this happened remains unclear. But from the hundreds of interviews law enforcement has and will continue to conduct, Sheriff Knezevich says a potential motive might be taking shape.
It sounds like a case of a bullying type of situation. But there will be more to discuss once we fully get that information out.
As law enforcement works to learn more, the Freeman community copes with the unimaginable together.
I'm just shocked. I didn't think that anything like this would ever happen at Freeman.
And Caroline, what's really tough about this situation is that this is a small community, so people are either speculating or know for a fact who the shooter was and who the victim in this case was, but we still we're still waiting as the public for law enforcement confirmation.
Absolutely. And that information that, we just shared with you in that package, again, all we have really confirmed so far is that 4 students were shot, 1 was killed, trying to stop this from getting any worse. But again, all of that information is really continuing to develop as this investigation goes on, and it's so important that, we make sure that that information is solid and not speculating, especially because an event like this can rupture this small, tight-knit community. Absolutely.
Starting with that topic, I'd like to bring in now KXLY4's Kyle Simchuk. He spoke to some of those students who were very near the situation when it happened or have some insight into what led up to this shooting. Kyle, what more can you tell us?
Well, Aaron, it's unclear whether school staff had any prior knowledge about what some of those students told us about that shooting suspect today. Obviously, many here shocked at what happened at Freeman High School, but many are telling us that there were plenty of warning signs. Some students at Freeman High School say there were warning signs leading up to the shooting that left 1 student dead and 3 more injured.
He was handing out notes to his friends, and it said that he was going to do something stupid to where it either might get him killed or in jail. And when I talked to him about it, he said that it was just in case if something stupid happened. And then that was like a couple weeks ago when school started.
That student says a school counselor was given one of those notes, but we haven't been able to confirm that with the school. Students who knew the shooter say he had been acting strange.
He messaged me over Facebook asking if I could get him gasoline, fuses, tinfoil, and there was something else. And I told him no and asked him why, and he said that it was for a science experiment.
The shooter was apparently obsessed with school shootings.
He did watch a lot of school shooting documentaries. He would send them to me over Snapchat because we'd be talking and then he'd just take a random picture of it and send it to me, which got me a little concerned, but I didn't want to ask.
Today, police say the gunman entered the school with a black duffel bag.
I heard kids saying that he had a black duffel bag and that he had a gun in there, but they didn't say anything about it. So,
can you elaborate on that? I mean, did he tell people he had a gun in the duffel bag this morning?
No, he didn't tell people, but he said that people thought it was a gun in there, and then people started joking about it, I guess, from what I hear from underclassmen. They weren't taking it seriously, and they were joking around with him, and I guess that's when it happened. He's like, yeah, I have a gun, so he pulled it out.
And some really chilling statements there by the students who knew the shooter, and Aaron, many in this small high school did.
Kyle, thank you so much for that. It's quite disturbing to hear some of the accounts those students were telling you today, and it's not a case of just students knowing each other. Their parents are friends with other students as well, and it's the community that comes together in these types of situations. Let's now bring in KXLY4's Hawk Hammer with a little bit of insight into what the Freeman area is like. Hawk?
Well, Aaron, it's just a tight-knit community. It's a small community here. Everyone knows everyone, especially at this school with about 300 or so students. This shooting really rocks the foundation of things out here, and it caught everyone off guard.
I heard a lot of shouting and police running through the hall.
As the horror unfolded on the 2nd floor of Freeman High School today, teachers and staff at the school jumped into action.
Our coach came in and said, this is real. Went into the back coach's room, stayed there for a while until we got escorted out.
He says with only around 300 students, everyone knows everyone. That means the 3 students who were shot and injured, the shooter, and the student that was killed as he tried to stop it all.
It's a small school, so, one person gets hurt and it affects everyone.
His first thoughts?
And I was worried about my friends, and I was in a bad state of mind because I was worried.
And while no identities have been released yet, he says he was in a drama class with the shooter and would have even been on the same bus. As for the student who died,
he was in the grade below me, and I was shocked. He was a nice kid, and he never harmed anyone.
And as the school and community mourns for the lost student and regathers the pieces of its shaken foundation, thoughts go to the injured students.
I'm just praying for the victims right now that are in the hospital.
And those students, we've been told, are in stable condition. But just to paint a picture of the emotions out here after all this happened, parents were walking out with their children, embracing, holding hands. Many of them had tears running down their faces, thankful to be alive, but this community really hurting for the victims and their families. Aaron?
Hawk, thank you so much. It's easy to listen to these reports and start kind of formulating a picture of what happened in our heads, but we want to remind everyone that we still don't have all the pieces of this story. All the information has not been yet made available, and so that's something we're going to work on bringing you as soon as possible. For now, Nadine, I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, so much more to come out in the coming days. Thank you for that. I will be talking to you a lot more in this newscast, Aaron. The 3 students who were wounded in today's shooting are recovering tonight at Sacred Heart Medical Center. KXLY4's Caroline Flynn, she has been at the hospital all day today. And Caroline, the good news in this is that they are expected to survive, right?
The latest update we have from Sacred Heart Hospital is that all 3 teens are in satisfactory condition. One of them is currently undergoing surgery. They were all brought here by ambulance this morning, have been admitted, and are expected to stay at least 1 night. For privacy reasons, the hospital cannot elaborate on the specifics of their injuries. The parents and families of these teens have been with them in the emergency room while the hospital hopes their stay will be brief. They know it is too soon to tell and have set up additional plans to support them during this challenging time.
We will be having additional mental health providers available over the weekend because situations like this create a lot of stress on a community, on families, on children, and we want to be prepared for that as well.
As we've heard students from Freeman High School say all day, and as Hawk just mentioned, this is a tight-knit community, and everyone knew everyone in this school. The hospital has told us teens have been pouring into the emergency room to see their friends, and while they completely understand this, visitors are completely up to the discretion of the family, patients, and floor that they are on. Now, the hospital says these are horrible circumstances and that no one ever wants to have to work them, but they train extensively. Coming up on KXLY4 News at 6:30, I'm going to have more on how the hospital mobilized once they learned of this tragic event this morning. Live outside of Sacred Heart, Caroline Flynn, KXLY4 News.
Thank you, Caroline, for that. And we're going to continue to follow the latest developments on today's tragic Freeman High School shooting. We're also going to hear from former State Rep Kevin Parker, who survived the Columbine shooting 18 years ago. His perceptions coming up on KXLY4 News at 6:30. Our hearts with the Freeman School community tonight in the wake of unspeakable tragedy. 1 student dead, 3 more injured, and a community in shock that it was one of their own who opened fire. Governor Jay Inslee responding to that shooting, tweeting out this morning, the shooting at Freeman High School is heartbreaking. All Washingtonians are thinking of the victims and their families. He goes on to say, we are grateful for the service of school staff and first responders working to keep our students safe.
Tonight, expect partly cloudy skies with an overnight low of 48 degrees. Tomorrow, a breezy day, wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies and a high temperature of 70. Our high today, 75, 1 degree above average. This is more than a 10-degree drop from yesterday. We were at 87 yesterday. It's going to be a while before we're in the 80s again. Potentially next spring. No precipitation out at the airport. Sunset tonight at 7:06. Today is our 77th consecutive day with no measurable rainfall at Spokane International Airport. Our temperature trend over the next 7 days, this white line is our average high. We are below average for the next 7 days, including quite a bit below average next week. That's when we bring back the chance of rain in our forecast. Mostly cloudy and 72 in Spokane right now. It is clear and 71 in Coeur d'Alene. A cold front making its way through the region. Behind it, cooler and breezy conditions for tomorrow. Big change in our weather pattern as an upper level trough makes its way into the region and sets up shop. It is not going to be moving much, bringing in very dry, cool Canadian air to the region, and that's going to be with us for a while. Overnight lows tonight will be down in the 40s and 50s. High temperatures tomorrow in the 60s and 70s. Your 7-day forecast keeps us in the 60s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right on into next week. Then we may even be in the 50s for highs. Good chance of rain on Monday with showers possible Tuesday and Wednesday. Sunday is Coats for Kids Day at Spokane Interstate Fair. We'll be collecting new and gently used warm winter coats at the fair. One coat gets you a free admission for a child 13 and under.
Great way to help a good cause and spend the last day at the Spokane Interstate
Yes, it
Fair.
is the last day.
We will have continued coverage of the tragic Freeman High School shooting right after the break.
You're watching KXLY 4 News at 6 with Nadine Woodward, Chris Crocker, and Sports with Keith Ozo. This is KXLY 4 News at 6, working for you.
A high school shooting this morning cripples the small town of Rockford, Washington. Happened around 10 o'clock at Freeman High School, about 20 miles south of Spokane. We are following this developing story tonight from all angles. Our Aaron Luna is anchoring our team coverage. He is live outside Freeman High. Aaron?
And Nadine, you can imagine at this moment, many students are at home sitting with their friends and their family, trying to digest emotionally the events of today, not just physically. And now we know that there is also a vigil that is being held tonight. I'd like to bring in Ariana Lake to talk a little bit more about what's happening at that vigil and why it's so important that the church and the school are connected this way. Ariana?
This is such a tragic day for so many people, really impacting this tight-knit community. I'm here at Valley Real Life Church where the vigil will be held in just a few minutes, and people are starting to arrive, people of all ages, young and old, here to get support. I'm told that this tragedy directly impacts this church because some of the kids that go here and worship here, they attend Freeman High School. Now, we did speak with a mother of a student earlier today, and her daughter is okay tonight, but she said she's just going to keep praying for those impacted.
I was overwhelmed with relief, and I'm still trying not to cry because I wanted to be calm for everyone else, so that I wouldn't make it worse than it is. But obviously this is a horrible situation, and for me to see my daughter was, I can't even put into words.
There is still time to get down here. Again, this vigil starts at 6:30. I do want to remind people, the organizer of the vigil said this is for everyone. You don't have to attend this church to come to this vigil. It's for anyone who needs support tonight, and you can find that here at this vigil. Again, that starts at 6:30. Ariana Lake, KXLY 4 News.
Shortly after 10 o'clock this morning, an armed student...
Ariana, thank you so much. Once again, support will be key in the upcoming days. Right now, Nadine, we will send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Aaron, and we'll have more coverage of today's shooting right after this.
Welcome back to KXLY4's coverage of the Freeman High School shooting. We've been out here all morning. We will continue to be out here into this afternoon. What we've heard so far from several of the reporters is how close a community this actually is. We've also unfolded the events from the shooting around 10 this morning to the evacuation of the school to the realization that one of the students had died and that that the shooter is now in juvenile detention. We also learned that there's going to be a vigil tonight. We'll have all those topics and more in-depth details about how this is affecting the community coming up. For now, Nadine, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Aaron. And we also learned today that Freeman High School takes part in a program that's called Safe School Alert. It's designed to help open the lines of communications. It's an online incident tracking system that makes it easy for students, staff, and parents to confidentially report safety concerns, and they can do so to administration 24/7, 365. People can receive tips 4 ways: by phone, text, email, and website. Now, Marysville School District on the west side of Washington sending their thoughts to Freeman. You'll remember they had their own school shooting in 2014. The school district saying our hearts and prayers are with the students and families in the Freeman School District and the community members of Rockford, Washington. Coming up, we're going to hear from former State Rep Kevin Parker, a survivor of the Columbine school shooting nearly 2 decades ago. It's coming up right after the break.
watching KXLY 4 News at 6 with Nadine Woodward, Chris Crocker, and Sports with Keith Ozo. This is KXLY 4 News at 6:30, working for you.
And welcome back to KXLY 4 News. We are following breaking news. A shooting at Freeman High School today. 1 student was killed. 3 are hospitalized tonight in stable condition. And that shooter, a student at the school, is in custody. Back to our coverage now of that shooting. KXLY 4's Aaron Luna is at Freeman High tonight. Aaron?
Nadine, law enforcement around the area starting to kind of lock things down, getting ready for a very long night. We've seen some clearing of parking lots around the area. We've also had a couple of different law enforcement agencies swap out and give sort of a crowd control over to different members of the community teams here. It's a very quiet scene now, but you can see that red tape behind me. That's something you just don't want to see anywhere, especially at a local school like Freeman High School. I want to bring in Caroline Rourke now. Caroline, you've been out here since this morning, kind of following the events of today as they develop. Give us a kind of a walkthrough of what happened.
Yeah, so when we got here this morning, you know, the overwhelming feel of the scene was just that kind of chaos. We didn't know exactly what had happened. We knew that something had happened. We'd heard different reports, but a lot of stuff wasn't confirmed yet. And as we've gotten through the day, kind of minute by minute, we've learned more stuff. We've spoken to people who are students, who are parents, who know folks in the school. We've spoken with law enforcement and medical fire officials as well, trying to get a sense, a better, clear picture of what happened here today. What we do know is confirmed so far. A student who has not been officially confirmed as to who that person is entered the school at about 10 o'clock this morning with multiple weapons, tried to use one of those weapons, but it jammed. He then went to use a different weapon, at which time a student came up to try and intervene, say, hey, maybe this isn't what you want to do. That student was shot and killed. That student has also not been identified yet. The gunman then opened fire, or continued to use his weapon there down in the hallway, shooting 3 other students. As you've heard throughout the day, those 3 students were taken to a hospital, 2, I believe, by ambulance, 1 by life flight, and are doing, they're reported to be in stable condition as of right now. Again, no really set word on a motive here, no official confirmation on any identity of any of these folks. I know you've heard a lot of different discussions, we've heard a lot of different discussions, and we want answers, so do we. We're working to get those for you, but we really want to make sure with a situation like this that is sensitive, that was so chaotic and traumatic for this small community, that we want to make sure that our coverage is accurate, that we're getting this right, and giving you information that is officially confirmed by the folks that...
And that is the tough part, as we heard today, many students saying what they saw and alluding to who it was and the situation and how it unfolded. We're just kind of waiting, holding down the ground where we're at, waiting for that official kind of breakdown, which is going to be a long ways off, theoretically.
It is, yeah. This school has about 300, just under 330 students, I believe, and law enforcement has to interview probably most, if not all, of those students, staff members as well who were on scene and might have any information to provide. That's a lot of interviews, and they were at about 100, I believe, when we spoke with them earlier this afternoon about 2 o'clock. So there is really a lot of work still to be done as they just kind of try to put the bits and pieces together here, trying to figure out what exactly happened this morning and why.
And while we have a good framework on how things unfolded, it's just important to keep in mind that this is not the whole picture just quite like you were reiterating. There's still a lot more to come, and of course we will be out here bringing you all the latest information as it unfolds. For now, Nadine, we will send it back to you.
Boy, a lot of blanks to still fill in. Thank you, guys. We'll be talking with you a little bit later. We're going to take a break now from our school shooting coverage and check in with Chief Meteorologist Chris Crocker for a look at your forecast.
A little more like fall across the region today as temperatures drop more than 10 degrees. Our highs in the 70s in most locations. Our high yesterday in Spokane was 87 degrees, and it gets even cooler in the forecast. Temperatures right now dropped into the 60s in Moscow and Pullman. We're at 72 in Spokane, 71 in Coeur d'Alene. We'll be cooler tomorrow thanks to a cold front that is making its way across the region right now. We've picked up a little bit on the radar in the central panhandle down into the Palouse, but I don't have any confirmation from the ground that this is reaching the ground, as very dry air is coming in from Canada. So that is very likely to be evaporating. Your day planner for tomorrow, 48 to start the day, a high of 70. The winds will be picking up with gusts up to 30 miles per hour. I'll be back with your 7-day outlook in just a few minutes. Nadine?
All right, thank you, Chris. Well, 3 of the victims in today's Freeman High School shooting are recovering tonight at Sacred Heart Medical Center in Spokane. Our Caroline Flynn is there. She's been there all afternoon. And Caroline, the hospital fully prepared to receive those students who are expected to survive.
Nadine, Sacred Hospital extensively trains for traumatic events, and while they haven't seen a shooting of this size since the shooting at Fairchild Air Force Base in 1994, they were ready. The hospital is a level 2 trauma center that prepares for incidents like this on a regular basis. When they received word of the shooting this morning, the entire staff at both the adult and pediatric hospitals came together. The chief physician called it a highly organized team effort. If they had to name any challenge, it was gathering information at the very active scene at Freeman High School.
So upon understanding more about this and what was going on in the area and with those students, we, of course, activated all our proper procedures.
We had several trauma rooms open, available. We had 8 operating rooms open, available, and fortunately did not need much of that.
For hours this morning, police officers were stationed outside of the emergency room, diverting traffic so families of the 3 teens could get into Sacred Heart. I can tell you that that is no longer the case. The hospital says students have been coming to the emergency room to see their friends. Very understandable, as we've reported. This was a tight-knit community where everyone knew everyone in this school. The hospital does say, though, that while they understand this, it is up to the discretion of the family, the patients, and of course the floor they are staying on, whether or not they accept visitors. Live outside of Sacred Heart Hospital, Caroline Flynn, KXLY 4 News.
All right. If you are just joining us now, here is what we know about today's school shooting at Freeman High. 1 student dead. As Caroline just told us, those 3 who were wounded in the shooting just after 10 a.m. today at Freeman High are still recovering and expected to survive. It happened at the school in Rockford, Washington, about 20 miles south of Spokane. The shooter, the suspected shooter, a student at the school, is in custody tonight, and there is no longer a threat to the public. Congresswoman Kathy McMorris-Rodgers sending her condolences on Twitter today, saying her heart goes out to all who were impacted. And we'll have more coverage coming up on KXLY 4 News at 6:30.
There's a possibility we've had our last 80-degree or higher day, but a very good chance that we've had our last 90-degree or higher day. We managed 35 this calendar year, well above, not this calendar year, this season, this summer, 35 degrees, 90 degrees, 35 days, 90 degrees or higher. Our average is 19 days. The record number, we fell short of that, 39. That was back in 1958. The smoke was a big player in not breaking this record. Had we kept the smoke away, we would have easily broken that record. The number of days of 90 degrees or higher in a row, 15. That was a record. Our previous record was 14 days. The latest we've had 90 degrees or higher was September 25th, 1952. So we certainly could statistically manage to get another 90-degree day. However, our long-range forecast calling for below-average temperatures, not only through the 7-day forecast, but through the 14-day forecast, right on through the end of September. And we've never hit 90 degrees or higher in October. 72 and cloudy right now in Spokane. Winds out of the west at 13 miles per hour. Cloudy at least at the airport. It's clear in Coeur d'Alene and 71 degrees. Satellite and radar, we have a cold front that is pushing its way to the south. Behind it, breezy conditions for tomorrow, and we will be even cooler. We made it into the mid-70s today. Highs in the upper 60s and 70s around the Spokane area tomorrow. On our national satellite and radar, a much quieter weather picture in terms of tropical weather, but we do have some remnants of Irma still bringing heavy rain into the northeast. High temperatures across the nation today in the 90s in Las Vegas, Salt Lake City. It was 69 today in Seattle, only 62 in a soggy Nashville, 84 degrees in New York City. Here's your 7-day forecast. 70 degrees tomorrow and breezy. Chance of rain coming in on Monday. Nadine?
All right, thank you, Chris. A local school still a crime scene tonight. Hundreds of students at Freeman today have their lives changed forever. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to KXLY4 News. Former State Rep Kevin Parker is joining me tonight to talk about today's Freeman school shooting. He's a survivor, of course. You've probably heard of the Columbine high school shooting 18 years ago. Hard to believe it was that long ago in Colorado, Kevin. And you were a youth counselor at the time, hitting such a small town like Columbine, of Rockford, Washington, also a small town. When it happens in these small communities, it really hits everybody so profoundly.
I'm amazed. Yeah, I'm amazed how many people have a connection to Freeman or a student at the school.
Yeah. You, in your last year of the state legislature, 2016, you were part of a bill, you sponsored it, that would have helped students, encourage them to report anonymously violent activities. Whatever happened to that?
This was a bill that would set up a hotline so that if students got a tip, they could call the hotline anonymously. It's been very effective in Colorado and was encouraged by former Columbine principal Frank DeAngelis. It got hung up in politics is what happened to it. And it still is getting hung up this last year, is what I've heard.
Because that could have affected today's situation when those kids that we understand at Freeman knew that something was up with this student shooter and there were some notes passed around. That could have maybe prompted them to come forward with information.
I made it very clear to everyone in the state legislature that this is one of those bills where literally it could save a life because it could stop a shooting, and I do believe it. And in Colorado and other states, they have a lot of proof that it actually has stopped a lot of school shootings. They've received a lot of tips that they were able to intercept and stop the tragic circumstances.
You were at Freeman today. You walk onto campus there, see all the first responders, brings back a lot of memories, doesn't it? Just like it was yesterday.
It does. Yeah, it reminded me, especially when I saw all the media trucks and all those cars relegated in the parking lot that are there probably for bomb sweeps to make sure nothing's attached to them. It very much reminded me of Columbine.
You may get a chance to talk to students or families from Freeman as they move forward. What's their healing going to be like?
It's hard. It's long. For parents, it is one where they want to grab their kids tonight, and the reality is their kids are going to want to be with each other. A lot of their kids feel lucky. A lot of their kids feel guilty. It wasn't them. And a lot of the kids will begin to migrate towards their friends who were in the same part of the school they were. And that's probably already happening. For parents, the most important message they can give is, I'm here for you when you come home. Be with your friends, but I'm here.
Dutch Bros, which you own several locations in Spokane, the franchises, you're doing a free coffee for teachers tomorrow?
We're going to give all teachers free coffee. All they have to do, it doesn't matter where they teach, all they have to do is show their ID and they'll get a free coffee, whatever they want from Dutch Bros.
Oh, that's great. We're also going to tell you about a fundraiser that you're also part of too with Chap's Diner and Bakery a little bit later in this newscast. Thanks for stopping by. You do a lot of great work in our community, and you're no longer a representative, though. Maybe you can get somebody to push that bill and it'll have a new life or something in the state legislature. Thanks so much, Kevin Parker, for being with us tonight. All right, we're going to go back out now live to Aaron Luna, who is at Freeman High School with more coverage of today's shooting.
Nadine, as Kevin Parker was saying, students are going to want to be with each other, and they're going to share their stories of where they were in the school at that time, what they heard, what they saw, how they're impacted, and they're going to lean on each other. And some of those students actually spoke with us earlier today to just kind of vent what they saw or heard, get it out in the open. Kyle Simchuk joins us now, and he spoke to several students about what they experienced. Kyle?
Yeah, Aaron, it was pretty alarming. You know, many of these students described the shooter as a bit of an outsider, and they said there were plenty of warning signs leading up to today's shooting. For example, several weeks ago, just about the start of the school year, one student told me that the shooter passed out an alarming note to several of his friends. Take a listen to this.
Did watch a lot of school shooting documentaries. He would send them to me over Snapchat. because we'd be talking and then he'd just take a random picture of it and send it to me, which got me a little concerned, but I didn't want to ask.
And we apologize if that was the wrong soundbite there. What we meant to tell you is that the note he passed out to his friends earlier said that he said he was going to do something stupid and that it might either get him killed or put in jail. And then when his friends talked to him about it, they said it was, just weeks ago when school started. And the students told me that one of those notes was delivered to a school counselor. We obviously cannot confirm that tonight right now, so it's unknown. School officials knew about any of these notes. And I want to take you guys back now to where we are. This is right near the entrance to Freeman High School, the big sign here, and there's just started to be a memorial here. We see on one of these signs it says #Freeman Strong and #Fly High. And Aaron, we can only expect this memorial to grow over the next days and even weeks.
Kyle, thank you for that. And students, parents, and community members are gathering as we speak at a local church. That's where we find KXLY4's Ariana Lake to talk a little bit about the vigil that's being held right now. Ariana?
Yeah, Aaron, so I'm here at Valley Real Life Church, and the vigil is already underway. There are hundreds of people that have turned out for this tonight. It was open to the entire public, not just people who go to this church, because this is impacting the entire community tonight. A lot of heavy hearts coming here to find hope and healing among people who understand what they're going through. So this actually did impact this church directly. I do want to mention that. I was talking to people who belong to this church, and they say members of the high school, they attend church here and they worship here. So this really is hitting home here tonight, and hundreds, like I said, turned out to try and find some hope tonight. Now, I do want to mention that tonight at 11, I will bring you more from the vigil along with some resources through the church to help with the grieving process. Reporting live, Ariana Lake, KXLY4 News. Back to you, Aaron.
Ariana, thank you. Hawk Hammer joins us now. Hawk, no surprise, so many people turned out to just be with each other at this vigil tonight. It's a tight-knit community, like you were saying.
That's the underlying thing here, Aaron, is that there's just under 330 students here at Freeman High School. Speaking with students, they told me that, when one of them is hurt, it affects them all. They know everyone in the school, and in this case, 3 were hurt and 1 died. So you can just imagine the impact. I've been here all day watching as this kind of unfolded. Parents coming onto the school grounds trying to find out what was going on, if their own children were safe, walking out. They were in tears. Even if they weren't related, there were people hugging, there's holding hands. It was a really quite emotional time, but the strength that they kind of found in the horror of this whole situation was really just a positive light in a really dark time here at Freeman High School.
And they're going to need a lot more of that support and community love as the days unfold.
That's exactly right. They've already canceled school for tomorrow. They're going to bring in counselors for the students just to be able to talk about what they experienced, find solace kind of in discussing not only with counselors but with each other is what they're really looking for here.
Great. Hawk, thank you. We'll be back after the break.
Thanks for watching KXLY 4 News.
Knutson is stuck with trucks. Save big bucks with up to 24% off trucks. Shop our largest inventory in 78 years. Over 325 Chevys available. That's rows of Silverados. Over 120 in stock. Up to 24% off MSRP. Equinoxes, 21% off MSRP. Even Cruises, 24% off MSRP. Rush in today and save big bucks on hundreds of trucks. Only at Knutson Chevrolet. Hard to say, easy to save.
Every day, people are discovering bigger isn't necessarily better. Better is better. As big box chain stores continue to go away, you have spoken. And at Fred's Appliance, we've been listening. You want great selection, dependable service, and a competitive price. We understand, and that's what we bring you every single day. We know we have to work hard to earn your business, so we will. Fred's Appliance. We want to be your choice.
Take the hard work out of losing weight with Slimmer 2 Weight Loss and Energy Formula. Slimmer 2 has high-quality natural ingredients that tone up your body's metabolism and fat-burning process while providing you with a constant level of energy. That's why Slimmer 2 is our best-selling weight loss product. Get the best supplements, the best prices, and Slimmer 2 only at Mother's Covered Nutrition.
Mother's Covered, things that make you feel good.
I'm Mark Peterson with important Fraud Watch Network information from AARP, the State Attorney General's Office, Microsoft, the FTC, and BECU. Today's topic is tech support scams. Callers claim your computer's infected with a virus. Once they gain access, they demand money to fix the problem or install harmful software to capture sensitive information. Now, here's some tips to avoid getting ripped off. Never allow remote access. Never give out personal information to a caller, and keep your security software updated. For more information, visit this website.
KXLY4 News is brought to you by Triple Play.
Well, we are following heartbreaking and devastating news out of Rockford, Washington. We've been covering this since this morning. A school shooting at Freeman High has crippled the small community with a much bigger connection to the Spokane area. Around 10 a.m., a student at Freeman opened fire on his fellow classmates. One student who tried to intervene was killed, and 3 others wounded inside the school. That shooter, a student at the school, is tonight in juvenile detention. Our coverage of today's shooting continues now on KXLY Nightside. Aaron Luna live from Freeman with more on what you can expect for tonight's coverage. Aaron.
Nadine, thank you. Of course, you've heard a lot of different stories from students, from parents, from law enforcement. We're going to continue to paint this picture and bring you all the latest details. Look for that and more tonight on KXLY4 Nightside.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Again, that's tonight on KXLY4 Nightside. Chap's Diner and Bakery on Cheney Spokane Road is closing its doors tomorrow so that it can serve first responders and the entire Freeman School community. It happens tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Food is free of charge to any members of the school district and the community, and an incredible gesture from its owner, Celeste Shaw, who does so much for our community. And yes, Kevin Parker was just here, former state rep. His Dutch Bros is going to offer free coffee during that event. So a lot going on in the community. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of other businesses stepping forward to help.
Tomorrow, we'll look for breezy conditions, a high of 70, cooler fall-like weather heading into the weekend. What a day.
An incredible day. Our coverage continues tonight on KXLY Nightside. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go home.